We will move on to the panel discussion. I request Professor Shyamasundar sir to come and head the panel. I request Sri B S Bindhumadhava sir to join the panel. Sri B S Bindhumadhava sir is working as a senior director at C-DAC Bangalore. He is working with the real-time systems and smart grid, and he has executed a number of projects. Prior to joining C-DAC, he has earlier served as assistant manager, system engineering, Tata Company, industrial automation, Bangalore. He has 27 years of experience. He is the chair of IEEE Bangalore chapter. Earlier, he had served as a chairman of the Computer Society of India and Bangalore chapter. And he is also having 30 plus publications in international and national conferences. He is also a board member of NIXI, National Internet Exchange of India. Now I welcome Sri Ramprakash Pandey, Scientist E, Office of the Controller of Certifying Authorities, to the dais. He is having 18 plus years of experience in the field of licensing audit and regulation of digital signature licensing authority. He has a vast experience in the deployment of innovative technology for the realization of e-governance. Welcome to you, sir. And apart from them, we also have two speakers who are joining us remotely. One is Ms. Carrie Peter, impression signatures from South Africa. She has, from a technology-based startup background, with experience in data privacy, data security, and customer experience management, Carrie is a passionate advocate for trust and integrity in end-to-end digital operation management. She'll be up in a moment here. We have with us Sri Srinivasan, who is the founder and chairman of eMudra Limited, and he is also heads the Asia PKI Forum. He combines a comprehensive mix of academic qualification and professional experience. He is a graduate in mathematics from Madras University and has secured the first rank in university. Mr. Srinivasan also authored a book titled New Age Management Philosophy from Ancient Indian Wisdom, based on his learning from Tirukkural, a 2000-year-old Indian text. Also has talked about as a number of hats to him. He is also earlier led the India PKI Forum, and he is also leading eMudra, the organization which issues digital certificates in India. So I leave the chair session to this chair, and while we connect the other two members on the line, sir.
Yeah, welcome to this panel. I would imagine people can give are looking forward to say what would be the future and what would be the way forward. For that purpose, I think without going further so that we can have more interactions, maybe it is good each of the members who are experienced in PKI could give a very maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes overview of where they have found it useful and then implemented and reached the notion of a trust. Because trust is something, it gives a cozy feeling, but at the same time it may be the things where it may be breaking the whole system or the other. So in that context, perhaps each of the members could highlight their experience in their developing the PKI infrastructure and how they have done and what they are looking for. And then I think we can take questions from the audience so that it will become much more interactive. Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can go ahead first, Mr. Srinivasan.
Yeah. So coming to PKI, now PKI has almost become the backbone of the cyber security and the digital transformation. Initially, and also it is backed by the Information Technology Act in India, and also in many countries around the world, it is backed by the UN Model Law, and also backed by the either Information Technology Act or Electronic Transaction Act of many countries. So that way the PKI has been given a full legal recognition for non-repudiation. That is number one. Though PKI initially started for securing the individuals and individuals signing documents, individuals encrypting documents, gradually PKI becoming all pervasive. So even now, if you see the digital trust certificate, it can be issued for the individuals as well as organizations or organization individuals. Then the second thing is to secure the website, SSL, TLS certificates can be issued. And again, of late, it has becoming very important in the IoT devices, connected devices, smart city implementation, electric vehicles, and many aspects. It is becoming important because at least even individuals earlier, it evolved with a login password, then it evolved into OTP. So then after OTP, some 2-factor, 3-factor authentications came. By far, all those authentications, somebody can intervene, but a PKI-based encrypted technology with a private key and a public key pair, nobody can intervene. So that way it became the by far superior technology. But when we go to the electric vehicles and other IoT devices and smart city devices, they cannot enter login, they cannot enter any OTP, enter password. So for those kind of connected devices, for a non-intrusion purposes, the PKI becomes the only de facto technology. So that way PKI has become a very backbone of the entire digital transformation and cyber security also. And around PKI, many solutions are coming, including the workflow and digital transformation solutions, authentication solutions, then how to put the certificates into the hands of the individuals and devices. And again, many countries are also implementing. Earlier, if you see last 10 years, the ease of use was a problem. But gradually on a cloud-based e-signing also has started in India in 2015. Now it has perfected more and more. In other countries, it is in various phases. And now almost 15-20 countries are looking at starting the e-sign methodology like what India has done. And actually, if you see globally, as of now, India is really a forerunner in this PKI technology and the e-signature technology. So they are being adopted in many countries. So that way, the future of PKI is very good, and the PKI becomes a de facto backbone for the cyber security and digital transformation.
Thank you, Srinivasan. May I request Ms. Carrie Pete highlight your view in the first 2-3 minutes, and then we will go around and then come back for an interaction with the audience.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I hope you can. My name is Carrie Peter. I'm the solution owner at Impression Signatures. We're a South African startup based in South Africa and working predominantly in Africa. We do e-signing, e-scripting, and some MPKI, well, a large amount of MPKI management stuff, but most of our technology is towards e-signing as well.
Maybe you should start. Yeah, why don't you start? Introduce yourself first. Yeah.
I believe Balaji has already given the introduction. I am RP Pandey, scientist in Office of CCA. We are, as all are aware, a licensing and a regulatory body who takes care of the licensing framework and the regulation for the certifying authorities in the country. So what Professor Sir said and as rightly said by Srinivasan Sir, that PKI is a great future. The future is with PKI. So I'll first of all add that I believe PKI is one of the oldest technology in the field of identity authentication and is still a very relevant technology as far as the identity authentication is concerned. And still we can rely on the technology and we can ride on this technology and achieve the device level verification, the IoT ecosystem. We can strengthen our IoT ecosystem with this technology.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bindhumadhava.
Hello. Thank you. So I would like to give a different dimension to this, adding Professor and Srinivasan's thing. The cybersecurity space, we normally have 3 verticals. One is the infrastructure security, information security, and the application security. So all these 3 forms the basic component of the security, where the information security has got the authentication mechanism which is there. And PKI happens to be the basic backbone for this authentication mechanism, which is being used. Basically, from the cybersecurity is another three vertical component, which is the people, process, and technology. So, if the process is supported with legally, like a framework or IT Act, which PKI is having its support, technology, of course, can be used, and we can develop whatever the things required. And there are current technologies which are hard enough to sort of make sure that it cannot be broken. But futuristic, like you would have seen in this particular conference also, people talking about quantum space. So that's how the computing paradigm also shifts to the quantum space, where we can break the today's hardened problem and it can be solved. And the people space, that's what Srinivasan also was mentioning, where there is a lot of authentication devices which are used. So I think with all these three things, the PKI has got the usage. And of course, the application goes without saying. Today, whatever the workflow and digitalization which we are talking, every space of authentication PKI is being used. And subsequently, where the device authentication, which will come over a period of time, where the resource constraint devices which has to use such a heavy PKI, that's why people are talking about lightweight PKIs also, which is coming into the resource constrained devices for the identity. So that's how the things are happening, my point of view.
Thank you. Carrie, do you want to say anything at this point?
So yeah, I mean, I think that you guys also seem to have the advantages that we have from a device reach standpoint, and I think that with most of our services moving onto these devices, and I mean, even in South Africa, some of the, or at least for impression signatures, some of our signature capabilities, our digital signature capabilities, we've actually managed to extend out to web-enabled phones, not basic phones, but web-enabled phones, and well, even basic phones, and that really helps us in terms of getting that full coverage and getting access to services for everybody in society.
Yeah, now I think let me just pose some questions what persons who can sit outside the PKI and ask questions, and then we'll go with the audience. See, one of the things is people use optimization, tokenization. Tokenization is one of the problems where you can break something, because that's where the integrity is going to fail. And so if people have to be convinced, would you be able to tell how you are going to handle that? Okay. In fact, I think if you go back in the original days, when the PKI was being promoted, Ron Rivest and also his colleague, another Turing Award winner, they proposed what is called a CERT-C or a SPKI. That is a distributed PKI kind of a thing, because that is where the certificate discovery and all that thing come into the picture. Decentralization, everyone can give one's own keys kind of a thing or the other. And there was also a notion of delegation and all that. Delegation, as you know, it is very difficult to prevent the depth of delegation. Even though, for example, if you see WhatsApp had said, okay, we will limit it to 5, but it's very difficult to put that limitation kind of a thing or the other. And then, of course, the problem is revocation. Whenever you are going to do a distributed system, revocation is a problem. X.509 adopted many of the features proposed by CERT-C or the SDSI/SPKI, but still X.509 a very complex animal that has to be handled we don't have any option, because it's something which has come earlier and we have to go along with that kind of a thing. So with all that, one of the perceptions in my impression that has to become clear is PKI is no doubt one of the security tools one has got to use. But our people and organization, can they be made aware this is what it would do and this is what it will not do? This is something it has to be made very clear if it has to get a wider acceptance in the society. This is one of the major things, in my opinion. Perhaps with all the persons, as I see, India is one of the leads in establishing the PKI infrastructure. It should come up with that, because we are also digitizing, and the amount of digitization we have to do is enormously large. And that's how we can reduce many of our efforts, kind of a thing. So, and then once you have, how do you discover the certificates? Because the organizations may not know how many certificates each one has gotten it, kind of a thing or the other. Is there a way to detect it? And how do you scale it up? That's another real challenge, kind of a thing or the other. And how, if I bring a new application, would it give me a problem? Because the one what I do, it becomes a legacy for tomorrow, and what do I do it, kind of a thing or the other. So some of these things, some of you can take it up and address the audience, and then we can start taking the questions. I have become a little devil, so that you can answer whatever way you can do. And finally, you can also say, how far are we if we do PKI as a service? Is it possible it will overcome many of the problems, or whatever that one is, kind of a thing? Any one of you, maybe Bindhumadhava? Yeah, please, Pandey. Yeah.
Sir, I believe what you said, that proliferation of PKI can only be achieved, as you said, rightly said, by two things. One is the awareness, and second is the availability of the applications which can use the PKI for giving services. So as far as the awareness is concerned, we are sitting on a platform which is typically under an awareness program. So Office of CCA under MIT is having a mandate to educate and aware on the PKI technology, the whole community, whole digital community. And C-DAC under our aegis, under the aegis of ministry, is doing the right thing for awareness, running the awareness programs. And it is being run from last so many years. So this is one thing. Second thing, the availability of the applications, which is where the industry role comes in. We are here to make the frameworks and to promote the licensing and the regulation. But yes, industry has its own pace, and industry is, I believe, moving forward to launch more and more applications, particularly the citizen-centric applications, wherein the PKI can be used. So this is.
Thank you. Mr. Srinivasan, you want to?
See, the PK has transformed in a big way in the last 5-6 years. Earlier, what was happening, we have to sign on a token-based signature or a smart card-based signature. And all the application processing also was manual. So to get a PK digital certificate issued in one's name, it used to take 3-4 days. After that, it is in a crypto token. And using a crypto token in a computer or a laptop also, it needs some knowledge and lot of setup changes into the computer or laptop. So that way, the usage was predominantly very limited, and only people were using it for compulsory usage, such as the MCA portal or income tax portal, later on GST portal or tender portal and those things. But today, the landscape after introduction of the e-sign, where on mobile also can somebody sign, and also after CCA 2 years back introduced complete digital onboarding with a video verification. So today onboarding itself is possible within 15-20 minutes. And once you onboard for e-KYC data is with the certifying authority, and any e-signature on a PDF file or anything can be done using just a mobile phone or anything. So the usage has become very convenient. Onboarding has become extremely convenient, and all the allied thing became convenient. gradually so many applications in the banking sector, mutual fund sector, brokerage sector, many sectors have evolved. And currently, if you see almost in a year, 8 crore e-signatures based on PK technology are signed in the country. Maybe 8 crore, maybe only in the first 7-8 months, maybe it may be 10-12 crore in a year. If you see comparatively 5 years back, there were no e-signature. And also conventional token-based digital signature itself, almost 50 lakh digital signatures are issued. And I think almost 700, 800 applications of mutual funds, capital market entity, and various other applications, online banking, HR application, CRMS application. So many things are linked, and everything, they have all become ASP of one of the certifying authorities to provide the e-sign. So that way, enormous development has taken place compared to 5-6 years back, and the ease of use is very high. And because of using the PKI, organizations are saving a lot of money, and they are able to use online, real time, anytime, anywhere kind of a transaction. What Government of India and Digital India Vision envisage, that is the presence-less, paperless transaction, and also cashless transaction. Cashless is not by the PKI, cashless is more by the UPI system. But the other two elements of presence-less and paperless mechanism has been enabled by the CCA office, and it is going in a big way. And in the government, almost all sectors are, I think, would say 80%, 100% transformed, but in the private sector is catching up only because of the awareness problem. Our Indian government is way ahead. The banking, mutual fund, and all those are catching up. Maybe in another 3-4 years, they will also be 60-70% fully digitized in terms, and there will be no paper movement at all. So that way, PK has really transformed the society, and I feel it is going to much more transform everything. And when this, with the smart cities and India becoming gradually manufacturing hub, even in India, this IoT device related PK also started to implement already. There were 2-3 companies who have implemented this, and other companies also. There are a lot of inquiries on this IoT devices implementation of PKI. So that way it is going very far. That it is very difficult to use that concept 5 years back has considerably changed. So this is what I would like to say.
Thank you.
Carrie,
Yeah.
Carrie, sorry.
Carrie, you want to
Hi there.
anything you want to say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting standards that are coming out at the moment. I think Venkatraman and myself are on one of those, or at least helping guide one of those standards that comes out through the CSC, which is the Cloud Signature Consortium, which also dictates the interoperability standards in between between certificates and the transportability of these solutions. But there's other solutions that are also coming out that are going to provide some really interesting signing capabilities. And I don't obviously just mean e-signing, I do mean digital signing capabilities. So I'm thinking of the GADES standards that are coming out that are actually being tested right now. I'm thinking also about, you know, the fact that the World Health Organization standard for internet or for the vaccine certificates have adopted MPKI. I'm thinking that well, I'm actually going back and addressing your original question about education, and then we'll come to the quantum computing and the challenges around that just now. But yeah, so I think that from an education standpoint, at least we're getting it right from standards. As I've mentioned before, in Africa and in South Africa especially, it's driven by the public sector. I think that one of the major drivers for PKI or PKI in South Africa is actually identity fraud. We had a 337% increase in identity fraud in 2020, and it's services like PKI, it's services like the facial biometrics, it's services like e-signing and digital document signing that's actually allowing us to mitigate those problems. In your statement earlier, you said there are a number of problems that you guys are trying to address through PKI, and be very interested to hear what those are. Or maybe those who want to ask questions about how we have solved for those sorts of problems in South Africa with such huge issues with identity theft. It's very interesting. And then, yeah, in terms of our hashing, the length increasing, I think that there are some incredible there's some incredible people working on these solutions globally. And I think that I'd like to reiterate the sentiment that when the time comes, that we will be prepared.
Thank you. So now we open up for questions. So,
Sir, in continuation with the Professor Prabhakar discussion, he said right now IBM has come out with 100 qubits. In 2022, the IBM is going to give up to 420 qubits. 23, it's going to cross 1000 qubits. So at what point of time PKI is going to have a transition? Right now, all the PKI, what are the publicly asymmetric concepts, all broken as per this slide. So when we have to get alert, when the PKI forum should be totally moving towards a quantum resistance structure. So how do we handle this situation, and what factor we have to stand? Okay, whether we suppose, for example, you say Sala 50, that is seam cipher, it's totally broken up to 12. From 24, it has broken up to 12 because security level is only 12. So whether we have to move towards a block cipher, stream cipher, still we have to go for a change in the asymmetric cipher. In what way we can stand for the quantum? So is that this PKI forum is going to think of in terms of quantum computing, because in 23, 1000 cubic is going to come as per IBM statement. If it's going to increase much more, it's not going to stop. In that sense, what is the transition? You keep on increasing the cubics from 2048 to 4093, it's not going to solve the problem, because it's going to give the more complexity. It could reduce the harder throughputs. So in this angle, how far you can able to address, or how far you are going to increase the size of the key? Keep increasing the size of key is not the solution. Rather, we have to stand in one stage where we have to address this public infrastructure in terms of the quantum computing. How do we handle this situation, sir?
yeah, answers.
Maybe Srinivasan is the
Srinivasan,
position.
did you hear the question? He is saying, I think he is saying that quantum computing, as per the announcement.
I heard his question.
Okay.
So it will all, as and when that evolves, then to protect it, we have to evolve. Because thinking about 2021 now itself, we suggested those kind of things to everybody. Then in the
That's
market-
what the forum. That's what this forum is going to help us. Help us to identify.
balance between the technology and doing business. No?
No, I think, Dr. Ravindran, that in my view, one has to constantly update what is the state of the art and how is handling, has to be produced clearly by the CCA and put, and this is the way that is happening. That also gives a confidence to the society, rather than only few people knowing. If you make that as a state of the art assessment, what has been done by CCE, that goes well, taking into account what is the capability of the quantum, because whatever they say, it may not happen completely, but you should take a good assessment to say what would be the best risk and all these things. I think it would be good if you people produce a report of that nature every year to say what is the thing that is happening or the other. That becomes a important aspect or the other.
I think C-DAC should think of in this one theme, quantum-based PKI. So that will help us to identify the real-time scenario in this current situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my input, sir.
No, I think he is some
I have
question.
a question. I am Misbah. My question is to Srinivasan sir. We are one of the first few countries who had entered into digital signature, and then in a big way, I mean, we have introduced e-sign as well, and we have seen the progress as well as the implementations and the adaptability also. It's a great sign. But you being Asia PKI Forum chairman, so you must be interacting with other, obviously, the members, member countries as well. So where do we stand, and how far, I mean, what are the efforts that are required to be number one in Asia PKI, in Asia basically, from the PKI point of view and e-sign kind of technology point of view?
Already, I think we may be the number one because in the Asia, that's so many. Because so from an individual e-signing perspective, I think we are already number one. Not only in Asia, we may be number one in the Europe also. So even I am a board member of the European Cloud Signature Consortium. In that, still the discussion is going on how to standardize the ID itself. and how a common ID can be issued between many European countries, and how the certifying authorities should be enrolled with the ID provider, who should be the ID provider. So this kind of discussions are still going on. And then we are still giving some recommendation to the EIDAS central board as to what they should consider, how they should make the ID, how they should provide the ID to the trust service provider to issue the signatures and these kind of things. But in our country, this discussion went on in 2015, early 2015 and late 2015. There was a clarity, then Aadhaar-based identity was issued. Then based on that identity, we could issue the e-signatures. And then even if Aadhaar, there were some issues, so CCA office introduced the PAN-based identity. So that way we are far ahead. I believe we are number one in the Asia, except about China. I don't know much in detail. This Chinese digital signature, they are not coming in that Asia PKI consortium meeting, but otherwise even Hong Kong, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, many countries I interact, but I feel out of all those, we are number one, and maybe number one in Europe also. But in USA, it is going in a different direction, except some defense and pharmaceutical industry. Other industry, they just say, for example, you take any signature. Anybody just sign a scanned signature or put a scanned signature, it is taken as valid. And anybody sending a document on email, I just write, if it is, it goes to my son, he can write V. Srinivasan. That is also considered as a signature. So they are in a different direction, and their legal validity systems are different. But all other countries, including Europe, South America, Africa, Asia, everywhere, I think we are much more ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Maybe about
Yeah, I
three
can definitely
questions.
reiterate that. I can definitely reiterate that on Venkatraman's behalf. You guys are leading, especially Imuja. You guys are really leading in terms of your digitization, your customer experience, and your sheer volumes.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, let us have three more questions, and then
Sir, one last question, sir.
yeah.
Regarding the cross-border certificate verification, if some clarity could come, because generally when we conduct the awareness programs, leading in e-sign, like thanks to Srinivasan sir for elaborating it on that. And the second most commonly asked question that we get in our awareness programs is cross-border certificate verification and validation. So can we get some clarity on that?
Srinivasan?
On that, legally, there is no clarity, but practically what is happening is, if the person sitting in a particular country, he signs with a certificate issued by a certifying authority in that country, people consider it valid. So even if you take the US companies or European company, for their Indian office, so they are now exchanging a document between Europe and India. The Indian side is signed by a Indian certifying authority issued certificate. It is considered legally valid. This is what practically happening. But from whether the court will object or not object, I don't think many case law would have come. But otherwise, the cross-border recognition, there is a lot of discussion, but up to now, no concrete action has taken. But from a practical recognition perspective, this is what is happening.
Yeah.
Actually, sir, I will add to it. What we understand as CCA. What we understand as CCA, different countries have their own law of the land. So that is the main area, because India has their own IT Act and their own policies and regulations. Any ex country has their own electronic laws, transaction laws, and they follow, as you rightly said, US is following their different set of laws, and even they are accepting the email as a signed document and all. So, and here is the role of, if we talk about cross-border, then is a role of MEA also. So it's a country to country. So as of now, there is, I can say there is no progress, and it is a issue where countries need to sit at some forum level, and they have to recognize each other. and it is only and only that one certifying authority get a recognition in other countries. If it is a licensed certifying authority of one country, it gets a recognition as it is. Means the other countries can accept them as it is, which is not happening right now, and it has to be decided between the countries, you can say the administrators or the lawmakers. Fine. It is not a technological problem.
Actually, also in the IT Act, there is a provision of foreign certifying authority, recognition of foreign certifying authority, as per the Act, I think clause 21.
Yes.
So, in that case, if any certifying authority, either Indian or foreign certifying, they set up in foreign soil, CS, which CCA will recognize it, give license, then its certificate is valid across the globe.
Any other pressing questions? If not, oh, you have,
Yes.
okay, yeah, please.
So basically, now non-fungible tokens, there is NFTs are being created and being traded also, but they do not have the legal backing. So, but if an NFT is being created in some US artist or a personality and somebody in India wants to buy it, or the other way around also is possible, they would like to have a legal protection. So even if they apply a digital signature in India, so meaning this is a quite more connected question with what I just discussed, which was started by Dr. Misbah. So if I buy the NFT which is created in US in India, then whether there is a legal issue, whether I will be supported by any of these things. So this is one place where we need a global PKI infrastructure in place, which is recognized by all the countries, because then trading can happen. This is my this thing. Or otherwise, if an NFT is created in India and bought by a person who is there in US or any other country, and whether if there is any legal issue, where can you, meaning still he can approach it and it will be still legally valid. So for that, a common infrastructure or a globally accepted networked infrastructure is required to be in place for enabling smooth this thing is my thought of opinion.
Thank you. Any?
My question is like, suppose we are using PKI technology, classical technologies, since 50 years back, like I think 1977 RSA was implemented. Then in India, 20 years old technology we are using PKI. But what is the future? Like since we are increasing key sizes after every 10 years, say from 1024 bits to 4096 or 98. So keep on increasing key length. Suppose there is an end of life of any technology. So what will be the expected life of PKI? Then what happens? Whether CCA will exist for PKI infrastructure or not, or some new infrastructure will come up.
Sir, this should I attempt? I am trying to attempt your question, as this is a futuristic question. So, I believe right now we are working on the key length to increase the key length. But yes, as Dr. Pandyan also raised, increasing the key length is not the solution, not the ideal solution. And
Srinivasan has also explained that some hybrid module will come up, like mixer.
Some new algorithm will come up.
Yeah.
Some new algorithm will come up. So this is, and obviously as we have seen, the blockchain is one of the upcoming technologies.
That will be the patches technology. Like we are improving the algorithm by providing some patches.
Yes.
But
See, there are two things, I
Yeah.
think, One is all our cryptography is based on what is we use on computational infeasibility. The other one is the information theory oriented, like the Shannon's perfect secrecy and all that stuff. I would imagine some more algorithms will emerge which will necessarily go out of the RSA and other things like that, which will become next level complex, and that's how there are many algorithms people start using it, and that is the way we navigate to the future kind of a thing are there.
I have listened only 3 or 4 types of RSA algorithm. Diffie-Hellman, ECC, RSA, maybe one more. So other than this, I don't believe
Sir,
that
something new will emerge, which we don't know right now.
So maybe
No,
emerging.
it is on the complexity class. What I mean is that because you have the classic NP complete, NP hard, there are many things that will come in that, and that's how many people have,
Maybe-
and that will become feasible when the computation becomes simpler kind of a thing. Are there.
Lattice structure is also coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that, I'll thank all the panelists. Carrie, I think we had a wonderful meeting, and I'm sorry your video was limited due to bandwidth. Thank you again for participating. Mr. Srinivasan, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Bindhumadhavan, and I think we had a fairly fruitful discussion to see, and which was lively kind of a discussion. With that, I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be the panel coordinator, and thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for such a wonderful leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.